Good morning, traders. This is Shane Scott, the moderator of Newsware's Trade Talk. At Trade Talk, we're providing you with the up-to-the-minute news on the market, along with the facts, themes, and short-term trading ideas for the day ahead. Joining me today, as always, is Bill Olson, our trading anchor, who brings over 30 years of institutional trading knowledge to our program. We're going to get things started with our markets update. U.S. futures are sliding lower today, with S&P futures down 0.17%. Dow futures down 0.18% and NASDAQ futures down 0.14%. The market is little changed today, erasing earlier gains seen after receiving a boost by Washington's upbeat assessments of a recovery in the world's largest economy. Oil has moved lower after an early rally spurred by the Suez Canal blockage had subsided. Contracts on the NASDAQ 100 index held onto minor gains today, which signals a potential recovery for tech stocks caught on the losing end of a rotation into cyclical reopening trades this morning. In pre-market, Nike has slumped 4% as the company risked a boycott in China over its practice of not sourcing cotton from the Xinjiang region. Carnival is rising from its worst three-day slump since November, with optimism for the return of cruise line operations. WTI crude oil added almost 6% Wednesday before falling back today, yet contracts remain above its 50-day moving average and the $60 per barrel mark. Tugboats and diggers are currently fast at work trying to dislodge the ship stuck for a third day in the Suez Canal. Eyes are now turning toward today's 7-year Treasury auction to gauge the direction of bond yields, as poor demand for this maturity at last month's sale helped trigger a global sell-off in government debt and interest rate sensitive stocks. U.S. benchmark 10-year yields edged higher to 1.626%. Over in Europe, stocks opened modestly lower, with energy firms and miners posting the steepest declines amid concern over lockdown extensions and vaccine hiccups. Bill, what are you seeing as far as market updates?
Well, Shane, I've been watching the S&Ps all morning long. They've been up. They were up, all morning long since I got up early this morning. And then at 7 a.m., the 7 o'clock hour hit, boom, they fell apart. And now you're looking at a potentially lower opening. Now, the key events today, we got two key economic reports coming out this morning at 8:30 a.m. We have the jobless claims figures, and we also have the GDP numbers coming out. They're going to be positive, but I think that this trend negative today may hold all day. You were talking about the tech stocks earlier. Now let's talk about the Chinese tech stocks for a second. They're slumping because the SEC is starting to roll out a new law aimed at delisting a lot of these companies. Why? Because they really don't cohere to the U.S. auditing standards. So we're talking about stocks like Alibaba, and Baidu. These are two companies that are heavily traded on the U.S. stocks, but they're not being audited by U.S. firms, and that's an issue for the exchanges. You also have to realize that today the U.S. regulators are opening into an inquiry into the Wall Street IPO, frenzy for these blank check companies, these SPAC companies. The regulators have started to push back, and they really want to know how these underwriters and managers, they want to know what the risks are really involved. So this is kind of negative for a lot of the SPAC deals. And we also have the tech hearings, the big tech hearings starting today. These are not positive factors. And, you talked about oil pulling back, it jumped 6% yesterday. It's down 2% this morning. That IEA stockpiles report was very bearish, and you're starting to see it priced in. If they get that ship, dislodged by Sunday, that will be, positive. They'll be positive for oil traffic. But that's the sort of thing that will actually push oil prices down. But this is what I'm watching for this morning. There's a lot of events going on today.
Well, let's go ahead and look at earnings to watch today. Saw that KBH did well, saw that Restoration Hardware did well. Why don't you tell us about it, Bill?
Yeah, KBH, they delivered a 10-cent beat. Restoration Hardware was the big winner. They delivered a very strong beat of 31 cents on higher revenue. But you also got to look at other companies like Fuller Brush. That's ticker FUL, Frank Under Larry. They delivered an 18-cent beat on higher revenue. So there's a lot of good traffic yesterday on the earnings front.
Any insights as far as upcoming earning announcements?
Well, we got two this afternoon. There's Science Applications, which that's ticker SAIC, Sam Apple India Charlie. It's priced for a 15% move. The estimates are for them to come in at $1.54. We'll see what happens, but SAIC is an interesting one. Another one is Progressive Software. That's ticker PRGS, Paul Richard Gray Sam. They're priced for a 12% move. Now, the EPS estimates there are for 75 cents. So these are two for this afternoon. And tomorrow we have Uptech Financial. This is TIGR, Tom, India, Grace, Richard. This, based on the 1750 strike, it's priced for a 32% move when they release earnings tomorrow morning. I'm a little cautious here. You have to remember this is a Chinese company, but it's good. It's a big percentage move. I'm not sure about Riot Blockchain. That's ticker RIOT, Richard, India, Oscar, Tom. The options are priced for a 14% move, but I'm not sure if they're actually going to be reporting tomorrow or not. I'm getting inconsistent information, but I'm looking to keep an eye on Riot Blockchain, ticker RIOT, for a move tomorrow.
Moving into economic reports, Bill, what are we seeing as far as reports today?
Hey, you know what? We got the jobless claims this morning. We also have the GDP figures coming out. So those are two interesting ones. And then at 11 a.m., we have the Kansas City Manufacturing Index numbers going to be released. It's a lot of Fed speak. John Williams from the New York Fed, he was talking earlier this morning. And then later this morning, we have Vice Chairman Richard Clarida speaking at 10, a little bit after 10 a.m. At 10:30, we have the New York Fed, John Williams, giving another speech. At noon, we have the Atlanta Fed Bank President Raphael Bostic. And at 1 p.m., we have the Chicago Fed Charles Evans giving a speech. And then rounding it out at 7 p.m. this evening, San Francisco Fed Bank President Mary Daly will be giving a presentation.
Well, moving into our morning's critical insights, starting things off with one on Bristol Myers, ticker BMY. Bristol Myers had a recent trial evaluating dose combinations of Opdivo as well as another treatment that helps to treat against melanoma. Both of these together met primary endpoints, and Bristol's share price is up 0.61% in pre-market. One on U.S. Airlines, ticker UAL. U.S. Airlines plans to operate at 52% of its overall schedule compared to May 2019, whereas in May 2020, United operated at 14% of its overall schedule compared to 2019. So U.S. Airlines is up 2.56% in pre-market. In other news, Royal Philips, ticker PHG, has agreed to sell its domestic appliances business to Hillhouse Capital, a global investment firm, for a deal estimated at $4.4 billion. Philips is also entering into a 15-year exclusive brand license agreement with its domestic appliances trade. Royal Philips share price is up 1.56% in pre-market. In other news, Houston Wire and Cable, ticker HWCC, is set to be acquired by Omni Cable in a $91 million deal, or $5.30 per share. Houston Wire's share price is up 42.63% in pre-market. In other news, Redwire is set to begin trading publicly on New York Stock Exchange after having made an agreement to merge with the SPAC Genesis Park Acquisition, ticker GNPK, for a combined value of $615 million. Genesis Park's share price is up 3.24% in pre-market. News we talked a little bit earlier to embellish a little bit more on it. Nike, ticker NKE. Shares of Nike are trading about 3% lower to 4% lower today in pre-market after the sportswear giant found itself in the center of a social media backlash in China. So reports emerged that Nike released a statement that they're concerned about reports of forced labor in Xinjiang. The statement didn't have a date on it, and it's unclear if it was authentic. However, some Chinese social media influencers picked up on this statement, and it has become something that's been quickly become a trending topic And so famous actors in the area like Wang Yibo said that he will no longer be cooperating with the company. And this could be a big problem for Nike, considering that Greater China is the company's highest margin region. China's media also singled out H&M for its anti-China campaign, which also prompted strong backlash on social media. And there's been a similar issue for Adidas, all of which have lost points in pre-market today, about 2% for H&M, about 4% for Adidas. In other news, Lumentum, ticker LITE, is to receive a $217.6 million termination fee from Coherent, ticker COHR, for dropping their amended definitive merger agreement. Lumentum's share price is up 6.96% in pre-market. Bill, what are you seeing as far as this morning's news?
Shane, I break my news alerts down into specific industries and specific events. That way I can really jump on these hot stories that come out, as soon as they hit the tape. I have this FANG alert I watch closely. And, one of the things that I noticed this morning is that the tech CEOs are coming back to Capitol Hill today, and they're going to be talking about misinformation. We're talking about the CEOs of Facebook, Google, Twitter, and the main topic is misinformation on their services. This is going to be why this is interesting is because it's the first appearance since the pro-Trump rioters assaulted the U.S. Capitol on January 6th. So, expect to hear a lot of saber rattling from the politicians, and these guys are not going to get a welcome reception. Now, think of how that's going to affect the shares of some of the tech stocks this morning, which is, I think it's going to be a little lower. I think they're going to be pushing a little lower because these politicians are known for sound bites. And, you got to be careful of that. I know that Facebook and, so Mark Zuckerberg, he gave them some written testimony that he gave them ahead of this committee meeting today. And he's suggesting changes to the Section 230 law, saying that platforms such as Facebook generally aren't liable for what users post. Instead, they should be granted immunity, and other platforms should be granted immunity as well, as long as they can demonstrate that their systems have a place to identify unlawful content and that they are removing it. It's kind of interesting. At least he's proposing an olive branch. Amazon, ticker AMZN, Apple, Michael, Zebra, Nancy. There's a vote coming up, that Alabama unionization vote that's scheduled for Monday, March 29th. So we got to see how Amazon's going to react. Shares of Amazon are going to react ahead of that vote. Apple, scratch that. Mm-hmm. I'm moving on to my Dow Jones 30 alert. I see some stuff on Disney. The Disney Plus, that's really been the, benefit of moving their stock price higher over the last year. They're instituting a price increase on the streaming services. It's $1 price increase. It's not significant, but it's across all of the segments of their streaming platforms. So, this is going to actually benefit their users. And if you look at the Netflix model, whenever they raise prices, they didn't lose users. They continue to have it. So, yeah, I expect shares of Disney to actually benefit from this price increase when earnings come out. Walgreens Booth Alliance, it's ticker WBA. Shares are under pressure this morning. And the reason why is because of the weak earnings of Rite Aid, that's ticker RAD. Rite Aid blamed their weak earnings on the downbeat cold and flu season that they experienced this year due to COVID. Yeah, that kind of makes sense. So shares of Walgreens Booths Alliance is suffering because of Rite Aid's bad earnings report. Another one on Disney, they created this new channel on Sirius XM platform that's going to launch today. It's called Disney Hits, and it could be kind of interesting. In terms of option headlines, I'm watching some of these cannabis stocks. You look at Tilray, ticker TLRY, Tom, Larry, Richard, Yellow. The 30-day implied volatility is at 122. Now you compare that to the range of 70 to 360, and you see that it's really on the low range. Now, the reason why this is important is because, the New York State legislature is about to approve, and they're looking like they are going to approve the legalization of cannabis, and that would be a big win for some of these cannabis stocks. Another one, this FNKO, Frank Nancy Kilo Oscar. The 30-day implied volatility is at 152. This is compared to a range of 70 to 168. Kind of looks like these shares are overpriced. Apple, on the other hand, their 30-day option implied volatility is at 31. You compare that to a 52-week range of 25 to 66, and you kind of see that their shares are a little bit underpriced at the moment. Let's talk about some FDA headlines. There's ticker ALKS, Apple Larry Kilo Sam. They're holding a virtual investors day today that starts at 9 a.m. AstraZeneca, ticker AZN. The European leaders are expected to meet today, and they're going to be discussing, the recent rise in coronavirus cases and the horrible way the vaccine rollout has occurred. And AZN is going to be one of the stocks that they point to, because what did they do? They just lowered their effectiveness rates of their COVID-19 drug. So this could cause some pressure for AZN today. There's ticker ACHF, Apple Charlie Henry Victor. They published some positive reports from their phase 3 trial. And Pfizer, ticker PFE, Paul Frank Edward. Today, the FDA is starting a 2-day meeting to discuss their BLA treatment. That's a biologic licensing agreement. Application, and that's going to be starting today, and with announcement on Pfizer likely tomorrow afternoon. In terms of offerings, my offering alert hit on OLK today, Oscar Larry Kilo. This is a new IPO where they're bringing public about 17.6 million shares. Now, the expected range was $16 to $18. Well, they just raised it to 20. So keep an eye on shares of OLK this morning. Other events are going on. Domo, ticker DOMO, they're holding a virtual investor and financial analyst session today. CE, Charlie Edward, they're holding a virtual investors day today, as well as KBR, ticker KBR. And that's what I'm seeing this morning, Shane.
Let's go ahead and move into our Trade Talk picks for today. I'm picking Royal Phillips, ticker PHG. Off the news of this agreement, the sale it's got with Hill House Capital, $4.4 billion is a good chunk of change. So this is something that we can definitely see some positivity from. It was up earlier at about 1.56%, and now it's dropped down to about 0.60%. So I think that we can see some gains come back again for this one. Plus this 15-year, license agreement, it's positive news. So perhaps there's some wisdom for us to wait maybe an hour into the market before we get in, look to see if we can get in just a little bit lower. Maybe it's at 0.6% up right now. Maybe it can get back down to 0.3% higher, and then we could take it there. And I expect to see some gains back up into that 1 to 2% margin. What's your pick looking like today, Bill?
Well, I'm going with Progressive Software. That's ticker PRGS, Paul Richard Gray Sam. It's priced for about an 8% move when they release earnings. The option volume is positive, a little light, but still positive. I'm thinking, they had a nice big beat last quarter. I'm thinking they're going to be able to continue and display another nice beat today. The overall market is a concern for me, but if I can get in this stock at the 4150 level today, that could be a great level to get in at, and I could see this thing trading a little higher as we get closer to the close today. So I'm looking at PRGS for a good move into earnings.
Well, moving into what's hot off the press, this is the news that's hitting the tape as we speak that will be moving the stocks today. So looking at our newswire alerts and seeing the headlines streaming in, which are the ones we should be letting traders know about, Bill?
Well, I see that Goldman Sachs just upgraded Cisco to a buy from neutral. They adjusted the stock price, their price target to 59 from 50. That's on ticker CSCO, Charlie Sam, Charlie Oscar, Cisco Systems.
One on Chipotle, ticker CMG. It looks like Chipotle is investing in an autonomous delivery company, Nuro.
Here's an interesting one. Catalyst buy. Deutsche Bank is making a catalyst buy recommendation on Walgreens Booth Alliance. It's ticker WBA, William Boy Apple. You know that the shares are weak right now because of the Rite Aid situation, but Deutsche Bank is stepping up to the plate, and they made a catalyst call, a buy call on Walgreens Booth Alliance, WBA.
Sino Global, ticker SINO, has bought 60% ownership of Supernode.
Okay, here's one on Honeywell, ticker HON, Henry, Oscar, Nancy. They're going to be hosting a conference call to discuss innovations and sustainability on today. So you want to keep it, and it's supposed to start at 10:30. So you want to keep an eye on shares of Honeywell around 10:30.
One on Ford, ticker F. Ford is set to increase battery pack assembly capacity in Valencia, Spain, at their assembly operations there.
I see Bank of America raised the price target on Boeing to 265, but they also came out and said that the company still has specific risks.
One on Lear, ticker LEA. Lear announced today that it will be acquiring M&N Plastics. Anything else interesting for you, Bill?
No, that's all I'm seeing today, Shane.
Same here. So that's going to do it for what's hot off the press. Traders, keep in mind, you can receive these same breaking stories that we do simply by subscribing at newsware.com. Check us out for a free trial today. It will definitely up your trading game. Moving into our scoreboard, talking about how our picks did from Wednesday. I had Restoration Hardware, ticker RH, which opened yesterday at $508.50 and ended up closing lower at $485.11. But we got into it for what was going to happen after the close, right? Which was the earnings announcement, and it did well, just as we talked about earlier. So the stock ended up going higher, and it's now up to $520.01 for a 2.26% gain since the buy-in yesterday. How'd yours end up doing, Bill?
I did KB Homes yesterday. It looked good right in the morning, and that's ticker KBH. And as you know, I'm watching the volatility. I'm looking at volatility expectations, and I really want to deal with solid fundamental data that which is really my designation to kind of capture short-term moves in a stock. And KBH came through. The stock opened up at 44. It ran to 44.78. That was a 1.7% move. So it was well over our 1% target. I was really cautious here because I did not want to hold this into earnings, because I didn't think in that market yesterday that it would be able to hold. And the earnings were strong. They beat by 10 cents. Yet the stock went along with the market and is pushing lower. But this was a good win yesterday on KBH.
Nice. You want good earning plays? Stick with Newsware. So that's going to do it for us here at Trade Talk. But traders, you know what to do. Let's get out there. Let's make some green.